I have declared I am staying in Waco this summer. Hey, I'm going to be in Waco through 2022, 2023. Hell, I might be in Waco through 2024. What say you?
Get a doctorate, get a PhD, settle down, get some roots down here, send your kids to China Spring.
You figure you're gonna stay in Waco, right?
I'm staying in Waco, bro. I'm not freaking leaving.
Armstrong, I'm gonna be in Waco the next 365 days. I'm getting a big old nasty thumbs up from Armstrong Sims. Well, I'll tell you what.
Disgusting thumbs up. 2 of them.
Queen Egbo, Melissa Smith, and Caitlin Pickell will all also be staying in Waco the next 365 days alongside their new head coach, Nicki Collen, at the helm of Baylor women's basketball going into next season. They made a hire. They did the thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got her.
We got her.
I thought we had it all together. Y'all seeing that? So hard to find. How about it, though, huh?
Nicki Collen, the new head coach of Baylor University.
It dropped.
We talked about it. So I went back and watched yesterday's show because we had our 5 candidates that we were really honing in on, and Nicki Collen was one of them. She was on that list of 5. She wasn't the best odds that we predicted yesterday, but also she was on the near the top of that list. We had the conversation, and yesterday we mentioned how Nicki Collen, off the bat, is a hire that jumps out because she's moving from pro ball. She is a pro. She is a pro that is now taking it to the collegiate game again as the head coach of Baylor.
Dude, I am eating my words today because you came on here and said Nicki Collen's in the conversation. I said, Nicki who? One, I've never heard of her. I don't think she was at most of the discussions on the forefront of the forum. How's that for alliteration? The forefront of the forum. But, dude, I am very surprised they went with Nicki Collen. I mean, in typical Mac Rhodes fashion, hired somebody that was sort of off the radar, wasn't really in the discussion that much, unless you're watching Up Tempo. But, I mean, you scour the internet for names that are potential hires. Nicki Collen wasn't really on a lot of lists. So I am shocked, surprised, and it just confirms that Mac Rhodes knows a lot more than me about women's college basketball.
As of 15 minutes ago, Nicki Collen and her family arrived in Waco, Texas. You can see her getting off the plane with her husband. Mac Rhodes is also there with them. Mac Rhodes is not her husband. The way that I said that could have been kind of confusing. But they are in Waco. Introductory press conference from Nicki Collen will take place tomorrow at 2:30 in the Farrell Center. And to my understanding, will be open to some of the general public. We've got a couple of these calls we're going to get to here in a second. We're going to give some of our opening opinions on Nicki Collen and the hire. 2018 WNBA Coach of the Year. She took over a program that went 12-22. In her first season, she was WNBA Coach of the Year, which is huge. Huge. Takes her team all the way to the semifinals. She coached Kalani Brown, Odyssey Sims. We'll talk to them in the next couple of days. But she's got the pedigree. Now she brings it to Baylor. She's been in the collegiate game at schools like Florida Gulf Coast, Arkansas, Colorado State. Nicki Collen has the resume to have success at Baylor.
I'm not going to lie to you. I had to do a lot of homework on Nicki Collen because when this hire was made, I knew next to nothing about Nicki Collen. And upon further review, I am a little bit surprised. I'm continually surprised about Nicki Collen being the hire for Baylor for a couple of reasons. Like I said, I have unwavering faith in Mac Rhodes. He has made A-plus hires across the board. That includes David Randall. I think he'll be great in these next 2 seasons, but that's not the point. Nicki Collen has never been a collegiate head coach. She's been an assistant at a myriad of places, but never a head coach at the college level. Baylor will be a bigger stage for her than the Atlanta Dream was. The Atlanta Dream had like 4,000 people at games pre-COVID. Like, this will be a bigger deal. This will be the biggest stage she's ever been on from a coaching perspective. I think there will be a learning curve there, but we won't really have to put too much pressure on her until year 2 or 3. She's going to have a bunch of stable of horses for her for this first year, and she has to make sure this thing stays the right direction. But I'm shocked. I'm excited, and I think there is a lot of potential, and I think it's also in a lot of ways a lot of risk because she's never been a head coach before.
Potential. We've got
in college, that is. In college.
You got Steve Rodriguez, who just put out a picture of Nicki Collen. Her picture is now on the Baylor ballpark video board. All of Waco is excited today to welcome Nicki Collen home to Baylor. She's now a part of the Baylor family. We're breaking it down. I think you're right. I think that part of this hire is the fact that she has not been a head coach in the women's game yet, and so there are still questions. This isn't someone who's necessarily established in the collegiate game. You hire Muffet McGraw, you know what you're getting. You've seen her be a head coach in the college game, but you haven't yet with Nicki Collen seen what she can do as a collegiate head coach, but she's got WNBA experience. You can tell in the years that she spent in college that she wants to be a college coach. That's where her niche is. She was a great recruiter. She was at Louisville. She was at Arkansas, Florida Gulf Coast, had a historic season at Florida Gulf Coast as well. She's got the pedigree to coach in the collegiate game, and this is a hire that this doesn't come necessarily out of nowhere.
Right.
Yes, it's a little bit out of left field,
Yeah.
but she was on a lot of top 5 lists. It's not like we haven't heard of Nicki Collen. This didn't come from, Northwestern Grandview State, where their third assistant off the bench has been hired at Baylor, and they come in and win a national championship. Nicki Collen's going to have success next season with a senior core returning, with a great transfer from Alabama that will likely stay in Waco, Jordan Lewis. And I have full confidence that Nicki Collen will have a successful career the next couple of years at Baylor. But what does that look like? What does she have to do? What are those boxes that Nicki Collen has to check and check now?
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. The expectation is you have to have a good, there is no lead-in time for Nicki Collen. There is no, period of grace for her if they don't perform next season. Like, Baylor should win the Big 12 next year, the year after, and the year after that. Baylor should be in the Sweet 16 Elite 8 conversation every single year. She has the firepower, she has the brand, she has the resources to be able to do that. So for Coach Collen, it's going to be a lot of pressure right off the bat. So I don't know that you give her a lot of grace. I think in terms of success, I want to see Elite 8 definitely in year 3. Like year 3 needs to be Elite 8, maybe Final 4. Otherwise, we have to reevaluate some of these approaches we're having from the women's basketball arena.
I do think it's big that those players are staying. Those seniors are staying. The fact that those 3 are going to keep it in Waco, and Jordan Lewis will likely keep it in Waco, says a lot about the Collen hire, that they have faith in someone that's coming from the professional game. She is a professional basketball head coach that's going to be in Waco. So somebody tweeted that the other day, like, hey, listen, Kilmulkey's one of the very best in the college game. Nicki Collen has been the best coach in the professional game within the last 3 seasons. So you're going out and getting a solid professional, and that is a step up. She knows what it's like to coach the elite of the elite, far better players than you find in the college game, and at a high level in Atlanta. I'm confident at least in that.
So she was coach of the year her first year, if I'm not mistaken. But her entire time with the Dream, I think she was something like 38 and 52.
38
so
and 52.
As a head coach at the professional level, she doesn't even have a winning record. So I'm sitting here saying, you want to win more than you lose typically. Is that something that's concerning for you right off the bat? Because I feel like you have a better understanding of the women's game as a whole. So tell me, is that concerning you before? I mean, obviously 75%, I think, is her record as an assistant in terms of winning percentage. At the professional level, not necessarily a winner proven as at the head coach. Head coach of the year, but her record leaves some to be desired. How concerning is that for you at this point in time with this hire?
Matt Rule finished his Baylor career with more losses than wins. And I know that's not that it's not the same thing as Nicki Collen. However, I don't think you can take the career record in the WNBA and say, oh, she's not a good coach because she has a losing record.
Right.
She did win in year 1 and had a bit of a downtrend in the next couple of years. But look at COVID, and I know we keep making that excuse, but you got to remember, COVID was much different on the professional level than it was college. College players don't really have a voice for themselves as much as professional players do. You're getting paid to play basketball on the pro levels, so if you say, I'm not playing, there's a pandemic going on.
Right.
Well, bada bing, bada boom, you're not playing. You got a lot more voice, and there were a lot of players that opted out. And then injury really plagued her in year number 2. But the fact that she went into year 1, turned a 2-12 program into 22-12 or 23-11 and 23-11, and won Coach of the Year, that says a lot. Went to the WNBA semifinals her first year as a head coach, so she can win and win right away. Now the question becomes, do you hire Molly Miller as her assistant?
Is Molly Miller even on Macro's radar?
Molly, if you're listening,
is she?
Molly, if you're out there and you're listening to this show today, call us.
A lot of Twitter follows from her for a lot of Baylor personnel.
She keeps following people on Twitter, man.
I'm just saying.
She keeps following
where
people
there's smoke, there's fire. But I mean, I'd be surprised if that were the case. I think they'll probably leave it to Colin to say, hey, who do you want? Who do you want to keep? Well, here's what you need to fill. I'm hoping Brock and Messer both stay around. I think that was what I understood that was going to be the case. I think they were going to stick around depending on the next coach. They didn't go to LSU, so I'm assuming they were going with the next head coach, whoever that would be. But man, Colin, I think it's going to be interesting because, like you said, so many question marks. 75% winning percentage as an assistant. And then you're like, hey, she's been around 8 or 9 seasons in the college game. Why was she never a head coach in the college game? Well, upon further review, she was traveling with her husband, who was the head coach, and she was usually his assistant. So that makes more sense. But yeah, I think this is going to be the biggest stage for her that she's ever been on in her career. And so I'm really excited to see how she handles it. And I think if you're going to end up on a big stage with a blue blood, Baylor's the perfect place to do it because this fan base loves women's basketball and they're going to embrace her with open arms.
Boom. Where there is smoke, there is Paul Catalina, David Smoak, and Craig Smoak, 3 to 6 on SicEm365 Radio.
True.
We got calls coming in right now. A couple of these calls we're going to go ahead and get to. Philip, I saw you got in the queue really early. There's some connectivity issues, but I got you in here now. What's going on, Philip?
What's up, guys? pretty excited.
Yeah,
This hire.
new women's basketball coach, and no matter who this hire was, there was going to be excitement around it. But the fact that she's a WNBA Coach of the Year and that she brings that pedigree to Baylor is solid. I've got confidence that Mac made the right decision because I know Mac did a lot of research on this one.
Oh, yeah, and I'm actually curious, and y'all guys touched on it about Coach Brock and Coach Messer. I'm really curious about the staff she's going to hire. I think that's going to be really important for her to be successful, and it helps that Melissa Smith and a lot. It seems like I think Hannah's the only one that left from what I can see. I think that's going to help her a lot because she's not really going to have to rebuild anything. So I think it's going to be really important that she hires, like Matt Rule did, hire some Texas coaches that have some roots here, so that she doesn't lose ground on to University of Texas because they're going to be hammering the state with Kim gone. So I'm hoping she does that.
She'll have a lot of firepower behind her with the Baylor brand. I think we're not giving enough credit to how much weight women's basketball at Baylor University has. It's like saying, hey, you want to come play for me at Duke if you're Coach K.
Oh, yeah, of course. So and that'll help, but I'm just hoping. I don't know. I saw somebody tweeting with Smoak. I don't know if it was Smokey or who, but I guess she was a former player last night, just dogging it that she has no ties to Texas, and I just disagree with that. I mean, it's just so Baylor's a brand now.
Yes.
It's not like it was back in the day. You go into a women's basketball high school recruit, they know who Baylor is. They watch Baylor. We're on ESPN all the time. So I just think the staff's going to be really important, especially like you guys touched on. She doesn't really have a lot of head coaching college experience. It's a different grind than professionals because you're working year round. You got to go get your players. You don't have a GM drafting for you. So I hope she gets a good solid staff behind her. I hope Brock and Messer stay. That would be huge, and I think people underestimate that. That would be huge for her.
Brock and Messer are the key. Certainly Brock and Messer are key to her winning and having national championship caliber success next year, is having one of those that have known the program for a decade in-house or more. Philip, Bear Games question for today. Rotten Tomatoes ask, 1 to 100%, what are you rating this hire?
Right now I'll give it a 75. I think I'm big on staff. I want to see who she hires as assistants. Before I give my huge vote of confidence with it.
Along with it, with this roster coming back, Philip, what does she need to do in year one to gain the confidence of the entire fan base as a whole?
I think she got to get to a Sweet 16. You got to win the Big 12.
Yep.
And I think you still got to make a Sweet 16.
I think Elite 8.
Minimum.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Thanks for your call there, Philip.
We're kind of greedy, aren't we?
Guys.
Thanks, Philip. We're kind of greedy, huh? We want Elite 8. But that feels realistic.
It
you
feels
have so much
very
coming
realistic.
back. You have the number one player in the country.
This is Baylor.
This is Baylor, your number one player in the
standard you should have.
So much coming back. You should probably make the Elite 8.
This is where we should have been with men's basketball. Remember when you were saying, why aren't we demanding a Final Four?
Yeah.
Why aren't Baylor fans so confident? There is that confidence in women's basketball.
Totally.
There's that chest pumped out pride in women's basketball. I got Stephen from Virginia, Bill in Austin, G-Dub, and then Don on the phone lines. We got Stephen right now. Stephen, what's going on? New women's basketball coach in town.
I'm really excited about that. And I know y'all are some broadcasters. We got to get you out here to cover some Montreal Expos games because your boy went 1 for 2 with a game-tying double in the bottom of the 7th last night and then stole third base. And I would have loved y'all to see it.
Wow.
Is there footage of this? I'd love to see this.
So, and I know how great at broadcasters y'all are. That would probably step our league up a little bit. But I'm here to ease your concerns because I love this hire. Absolutely love it for a few reasons. Number one,
the L word.
Going and getting a pro coach is flexing serious muscle. And even if her record isn't a winning record, Nick Saban doesn't have a winning record in the pros. Bobby Petrino was awful in the pros. Now, I know Bobby Petrino had his other issues, but Arkansas was winning when Bobby Petrino, before Bobby Petrino took the girl on the motorcycle.
True.
They were winning football games.
That was bad.
So,
what are you going to do?
So, when you go and get a pro coach, that's a big deal, especially one that has been a coach of the year, especially one that has been a top assistant on somebody else's staff in college. And, it's not just someone where they're, like most assistants are friends and friendly and working relationships. They're going home together. They're talking about the game. They're talking about everything probably all the time when they're at home. So, I think, and she won in Atlanta. So to go and get a pro coach with this kind of experience, she's been an assistant with players drafted in the WNBA. She's coached in the WNBA and won. And she's coming here. I don't think you could have made a better hire unless you got Gino. And that's just my 100% opinion.
Okay.
This is something that Baylor in my childhood would never do. Go get a professional coach to coach this college team. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And this is a place that is going to win. And I'm absolutely stoked about this hire. I know there was a lot of love for Molly Miller. I'm sorry, Drake. She probably needs a little bit more seasoning before she gets here. And to go and get a pro coach, that's a win right away kind of move to me. The only thing that would have signaled to me that they were more interested in winning right away is to keep Bill Brock as the head coach.
Steven, do you worry about her as a recruiter?
Not particularly, because she has recruited. I mean, I'm sure when those players who went to her school that left and went to the WNBA, I'm sure she had a hand in the recruiting. And, without giving away premium content, the signals are, people do think Brock would like to stay on for a little while. And I know I would love for Miss Messer to stay as well, because, at the end of the day, I think a lot of coaches who would be assistants at Baylor would understand that being an assistant coach at Baylor pays more than being a head coach at some places. And so this is definitely a great place for them, and this is definitely a place that loves them. So if she kept Bill Brock and Coach Messer, then I would be 100% not worried about any recruiting.
Steven, Rotten Tomatoes, 1 to 100. What do you rate the hire?
I don't know if Rotten Tomatoes has ever scored a movie a 100, but I'm here with a 100 on this. I really could not be more excited about this hire.
I think Paddington 2 is a 100. I'm pretty sure Paddington 2 is a 100 on Rotten Tomatoes or something.
Well, this is better than Paddington 2. Sorry.
It is better than Paddington 2. And then last question, what does she need to do in year one? What is that cursor in year one she's got to hit? Say it.
So the first year, it has to be the year that she's really good. This is a team that still has top 10 talent on it. The first year, she has to be winning the Big 12 and in the Elite 8. And then over the next 2 or 3 years, it has to continue to be a program that does not finish lower than second or third in the Big 12 in the regular season and, is constantly going to the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. If they're she could do it for 2 or 3 years, but then in year 4, she gets killed in the first round or something like that, then all of a sudden we have a problem. You got to be able to sustain this.
Nicki Collen gets killed. We got bigger problems.
Yeah, we got a lot.
We got a lot of problems. Steven, thanks for calling, man. Good to get your thoughts today.
Later, guys.
See you, Steve.
Let me say this before, and I want to get to your point. Then we're going to hit Bill and Austin.
This is not a crucial point.
For those of you that are out there that are like, "Hi, man. You're setting an unrealistic precedent right now. You're asking this lady to come in here, Baylor, and win national championship year one. You're asking her a lot, and she can't. There's a lot of pressure put on her. She asked for it.
Yeah.
When you step into that seat at Baylor, that's what's going to deter a lot of coaches. A lot of coaches didn't want that year one pressure of needing to win at a high level. She needs to win 25 games year one at Baylor. And it's like, hey, why don't say that about her?
Yeah.
Just her first season. It doesn't matter. That's what has been built here at Baylor. Yeah. That you are expected with the roster coming back. It's not like she's reloading. She's expected to win year one. And I'm with you. How can she recruit? I think year one she has to land a couple of 4 or 5 stars.
That's a phenomenal point. And I would say Kermit the Frog. It comes with the territory, just you said.
I'm not Kermit the Frog. I'm
Kermit from Arkansas.
I'm Jim from Boonville, Arkansas.
I love it. I was going to say there's been 9 movies that are 100% Rotten Tomatoes. That's a little bit far down the rabbit hole now, but Mary Poppins, Toy Story 2,
Gino Auriemma,
Terminator,
Muppet McGraw, Pat Summitt.
Actually, yeah.
Paddington 2 very deserving though.
I don't see Paddington 2 on this list.
That's a rabbit hole or a bear hole. Hey,
Holla.
Paddington 2 reference and Baylor. Bill and Austin, what's going on, Bill?
Hey guys.
I was Joni Taylor, Molly Miller, or Dia Barnes person, but after sleeping on it, I think I'm starting to come around. Kind of what some other people have already said. I think by hiring a WNBA coach is a big deal. I think a lot of her lack of experience in college is because of her husband and working for him. I don't think that she's going to be scared of the legacy or anything like that of Kim. And I think also having, some continuity with the seniors staying, I think that speaks a lot. And I think a big thing that, Mac was maybe looking at was saying, hey, if we hire a WNBA coach, we're already a name program. We're a blue blood basketball. Why can't players just come here to get straight to the pros, right? And I think we're going to see that on the men's side and the women's side. The players now, look at some of these leagues that are popping up for high school kids. They want to go make money quick. And if we can have a program and have a coach that's going to say, hey, we can get you to your next level to where you can make money in 3 years, in 4 years, that's going to be huge for us in getting some of the top players because they want to get paid as quickly as possible. So I think that's a huge deal as well. So I'm starting to come around on the hire. I like it more the more I think about it. Something else that Smokey said yesterday made me think was Mac Rhodes always had this ability when he picks a coach is trying to keep the winning now, not necessarily thinking 20 years down the road. So this might be a hire that maybe is only for 5 years. Maybe it is kind of like a Matt Rule thing where she stays around for a couple of years, makes some good money in the women's game, college, and then goes back to the WNBA or does something else. So anyways, I want to hear your thoughts. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for your call. I want to get your Bear Games questions in here, Bill. And that's Rotten Tomatoes, 1 to 100. What do you rate this?
Man, I'm going to give it a 75 just because I think it wasn't our first choice. I think that Taylor and Barnes turned us down. I think Barnes would have been a coach had she not been an Arizona alumnus. So I'll give it a 75 right now, and we'll see how it goes.
And, Bill, what are those checkpoints, those cursors she's got to hit in year number 1 to have sustained success at Baylor?
She's going to have to win the Big 12 probably, like the other guys have said, probably make at least the Elite 8. I mean, I think we can have, depending on who all stays and if we pick up any transfers, we should have a Final Four Elite 8 caliber team next year, if not maybe a favorite to win the title. So that would be huge for her if she can keep the winning for next year, and then recruiting will take care of itself, especially we keep Brock and Messler.
I love it. Hey, Bill, thanks for your call. Good to get your thoughts. Thanks for holding on there a while, too.
Thanks, man.
See ya. Bill held on for like 18 minutes.
Heck yeah, Bill.
Trooper.
She has the luxury and the burden of having so many great players back.
Good, well put.
That anything less than the Elite 8 is going to be like, well, we had a lot of horses here. Why didn't you do?